I'm delighted to be here. I know that they are delighted to be here as well. Now, as a procedural matter, men, I'm going to raise topics, I'm going to pose questions, and I'm not going to identify one of you. Dive in as you wish. We're going to have a conversation, not a Q&A. And if there is something I want to ask one of you specifically, I'll let you know. Now, I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I know Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a unique market, and it is incredibly hard to accomplish what these two have accomplished. As the song says, I love LA, but we are different. By the way, as to different, kudos to you on taking the draft to the beach. There's a song I just mentioned, I love LA. There's another song, First Class, Beach Baby, and you just did a magnificent, magnificent draft event in Hermosa Beach, I believe it was.
On SoFi Field.
On SoFi Field, because of course SoFi Field has a field in Hermosa Beach. I learned, by the way, that when people who visit Los Angeles say, don't really like Los Angeles, not my cup of tea, really don't like it here, what we learned growing up was the response is, okay, don't come. We're good. And by the way, that's still my response. Don't come. We're good. It is a unique event. It is a unique market. Sports, sporting events, attendance at sporting events. It's an area in which I believe Los Angeles differs from other cities and regions with sports. People in Los Angeles have a lot of choice as to what to do. On a Sunday or any day of the week, do we want to go to SoFi? Do we want to go to a game? Do we want to go to the beach? Do we want to go to the mountains? What do we want to do? And convincing them that SoFi is where you want to be is something that these two have done magnificently. There is an element in Los Angeles of people who want to see and be seen. When I was with the Raiders and we were in Los Angeles, we often spoke to the fact that never was the demand for tickets as high as when we announced that tickets were sold out. And we often teased that rather than spending any money on marketing, we should simply announce game is sold out, because then the rush for tickets was going to exceed anything we had experienced before. So we will talk to you men about that as well. I'm going to turn this over to the two of you in a moment to tell us how it is that you have achieved what no one achieved prior to SoFi Stadium, your partnership, the building, that which you are doing. It is a magnificent stadium. It is a wow stadium in what I believe to be a phenomenal location. It's accessible from all areas of the region. We talked about see and be seen. You'll note that I'm wearing an LA Sports and Entertainment Commission hat. There is an intersection between sports and entertainment, and you have achieved that magnificently as SoFi as well. I think, Anthony, that we saw you up in the backstage when Taylor Swift was performing. Was that you dancing?
That was not me.
I think it was actually Anthony. So whether NFL games, other sporting events, concerts, you're doing it magnificently. So let's start by posing this question. Educate us. Educate us as to what you attribute your success to date in this marketplace. The venue, winning, marketing, otherwise. I worked for a man for almost 30 years, Al Davis, whose saying was just win, baby. And I would talk to him about the need to market, the need to promote, the need to do creative sponsorships and advertising. And his response was, all we need to do is win. To which I responded, then we need to do that regularly, because otherwise we have to do all these other things. So turning it over to you both now, talk to me about anything you wish, whether it's the venue, the location, the marketing, the winning, by the way, you've done nicely in that regard as well, the collaboration, the intersection between sports and entertainment. Start where you would like, and we'll take it from there.
Kevin, you want to go first?
It's a small, we could take the remaining 25 minutes to kind of dive into that. But I think it starts with,
Wait, can we just stop a minute? Can you turn your right hand towards the audience?
There you go.
And
That's the combination of winning and marketing, right? There we go.
That's a big ring. Okay, sorry about that.
Look, I think it starts with having an owner in Stan Kroenke who had a vision to do Los Angeles right and who would spare no expense to make sure that not only the Rams, but the NFL, SoFi Stadium and Hollywood Park were successful. And if you get into it started with, he'd always say, you can't undershoot Los Angeles. Finding the best spot, as you know, you worked on that spot for many years at Hollywood Park. I do not believe there is a better place for a stadium in Los Angeles than Hollywood Park. Dodger Stadium would be the other alternative, and that's taken. So, and then, I think it starts with building the world's greatest stadium, making sure in LA that you had a place that not only diehard fans wanted to come, but every athlete, entertainer, team wants to play in. Then it is taking big risks and doing things different. I mean, hiring a 30-year-old head coach, taking the draft to the beach, trying to think of every different way to do the playbook, trading lots of picks for proven stars, and being willing to be aggressive in spending, all of it to create, and I think it's not a perfect, analogous situation to the Showtime Lakers, but there are a lot of parallels. When you come in, build something, mix sports and entertainment, you're fortunate to have really good teams that win, and you create an aura around that hopefully drives everything else, along with a lot of lucky breaks. I mean, opening up a stadium during COVID, not a lucky break. But having to push back the Super Bowl a year because of it, which you wind up playing in and winning in your own building, changed the story of our franchise in Los Angeles forever. And so a lot of great vision, a lot of money spent, probably too much on the stadium. But all of it combining with a lot of fortuitous breaks to make the Rams are where they are today, and a lot of great partners along the way. I think I think we've talked about, we've grown up here. It was not when, Los Angeles didn't need the NFL. The NFL needed Los Angeles way more than Los Angeles needed the NFL. It was when Los Angeles was ready for the NFL to come back, and we came back at the perfect time to really marry up everything you're talking about here today, sports, entertainment, technology. That's what happens at SoFi on a daily basis, and I think we were able to meet all of that with a pretty good product on the field.
I think for us, I had the benefit of having worked at the NFL in 2008, 9, and 10, and worked on trying to get a team back to LA. And then after that, when I was back at Goldman Sachs running TMT Banking, worked with Dean Spanos to try to figure out how to get to LA. And, for 4 years, and then being at SoFi. And it all starts with someone that actually could make it happen, that had this grand vision, had the economic means, had the persistence and the resilience to, fight through setbacks. When we first met with the team and with Stan and saw what he was building, I knew in my heart it was the right answer for LA. Had looked at so many different locations over that time period, so many different ownership groups, so many different ways to finance it. It was the right combination. And as I looked at what was going to be built, it was coming out of the ground, but wasn't anything close to being done yet. I made the conclusion that this was going to be the most ambitious stage in the world. And every sports team in the world would want to play there, regardless of the sport. Every major act would want to be on that platform. International teams would want to be on that platform. And if it truly was the most ambitious stage, then the media would want to cover it. And in that way, it would be its own media platform, its own distribution platform for national and global reach. A lot of people would ask us, did you do the deal? How many credit cards do you think you're going to sign up? I'm like, I don't know. I never ran the math. They're like, what? You pay $20+ million a year and you never run the math? I'm like, that wasn't the math that I ran. The math I ran was there's going to be 4 to 6 primetime NFL football games in the stadium a year. Each primetime football game gets 20 to 25 million unique viewers. What does that cost me today? It cost me 5 times what I'm going to pay for the stadium.
You might not want to tell that to Kevin right now.
Well, we've had the conversation. I mean, look, the first year SoFi was open in 2021, of the top 100 television shows, 5 of the top 10 were at SoFi Stadium, right? I mean, the value for that, and we're more than happy with Anthony what he's paying.
And I'm teasing, of course.
But I think you get to this point, that was the game changer when you started to think about LA and what it brings to the market.
Well, and I mentioned to start, I'm from LA. I grew up here. I've spent the vast majority of my life here. Kevin grew up here. It is a unique market, and I do recognize that people from everywhere believe their markets to be unique and to be different. In LA, you need to convince people there's a reason they should go to a building. The location is, as you said, perfect in my view. The building is phenomenal. The game day experience that you've put together makes it an I want to see and be seen opportunity, and that plays in Los Angeles. So you did it wisely and you did it wonderfully, And now it's going to be even more global with the Olympics coming and the World Cup coming and other events. So the question I will pose to you both now is, okay, you've accomplished what no one before you accomplished. You have a magnificent partnership. What's next? How do you continue just to roll along as you're rolling, which is well done, or is there something else in mind in terms of the linking of sports and entertainment in a market that is known for entertainment?
From my vantage point, we want to make the experience on the ground the easiest place to spend money. And that's not just in the stadium, that's in the retail district, it's in the hotels, it's for the corporate clients, et cetera. And so there's still a lot to be done there, especially in the retail segment and also on game day. Getting the best acts, the best games there, I think is the beginning, but it's certainly not the end. It's about reinventing the experience for fans. Kevin and I were talking beforehand. At SoFi, our mission is to help people get their money right, which means we have to help them do the things you do with your money better than they otherwise would do. We don't talk about checking and savings accounts. We're talking about helping them spend better. Well, how can we help them spend better as it relates to SoFi Stadium? Getting access to tickets at face value, getting early access to tickets, getting unique VIP experiences, those types of things will help transcend it. One of the things we kind of learned along the way was when there's a game or a concert or an event at the stadium, we have to run an ad because if people hear the name SoFi 100 times, they actually may not know what we do, so we have to run an ad. So that was one of the learnings. The second thing is it is a media platform for national television or global television, but it's also a platform for social influencers to come to and take photos and videos and share them on social media as well. And so we've taken our influencers and brought them to events and games. And so there's a whole nother leg to the entertainment piece and the social element and becoming a fabric of the pop culture.
And for those who don't know and who haven't been there, I encourage you to go see it, even if it's not on the day of an event. There's a lake. I mean, they built a lake at the facility. So you talk about social influencers. A lot of people are going there to take that picture by the lake.
And we haven't even leveraged the lake yet with people diving in after celebrations and other events. I'm kidding.
I can see a canoe. There's a canoe sponsorship in there somewhere.
Spring break. We can do it all.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, though. One of the first things that struck me in this conversation is we refer to SoFi now like people in LA used to refer to Staples. Right, and I don't think people ever paid attention to Staples being an office product company. It was just that's where the Lakers and the Kings played. And I think it's great that it's become part of the lexicon. It's interesting. We just say, like, what's next? And we talk about what's next. No stadium has ever hosted a World Cup, Super Bowl, and Olympics in its history, let alone in 3 consecutive years in 26, 27, 28. But I think, so just glossing over, like, that is a huge endeavor for us to undertake. But I think it does come to, for us, SoFi Stadium is the epicenter of Hollywood Park, which is a 300-acre retail district. It is getting, the 1 million square feet of retail up and running. We have the first movie theater open in Inglewood in 30 years, a number of other projects, a gym, a grocery store coming online, a hotel about to be built, more office space to go next to NFL media. I think by the time you look at this in 5 to 6 years, Hollywood Park will be what LA Live, became. This 300-acre portion, because now people still, to the best of our abilities, they still come to SoFi Stadium, they still come to YouTube Theater, which is our music venue, and then they still leave. Like, we still haven't captivated that whole work, live, play, even though our 2 apartment buildings just opened and are basically sold out now. That is what is next in this enterprise, to truly make Hollywood Park the community it can be with SoFi Stadium as the epicenter of the world. But I think when you talk about 3 straight years of the most visible sporting events being held at SoFi Stadium, it will be a game changer for both the city of Los Angeles and certainly for the stadium itself.
2 unrelated questions that I'll pose, and you guys can dig into them as you wish. One is your view on the additive nature, if any, of Intuit Dome, which is proximate. And number 2, the intersection between an experience for those fans who are avid fans, and what they want is to see their team win, which you have done well of late, and the fans that are there for the experience because it is a see or be seen opportunity in a market where see and be seen is important. Where do you factor into your marketing efforts winning, prioritization, and then growing the entire region? My guess is your answer is going to be winning.
I actually will say it's not. because I don't think you can do anything from a marketing perspective to juice winning, right? The moment I think in sports you try to use marketing tools or dollars to improve your team to win, you usually fail. The ROI on teams that have tried that, and we were very fortunate. We did go, quote unquote, all in and win a Super Bowl. But the return of that is usually pretty poor. And so I think you have to let the football side be the football side and make the best decisions they can and put that off to the side and say that's winning. You have to build a marketing platform here to capture and engage fans. Our platform has really been targeted towards younger fans who don't know life in LA without the Rams. So many other people who live in LA, grew up here, they're from other places, they grew up on the East Coast and they're Jets or Eagles fans. They're not giving up that fandom just because they moved to LA and we're here. They might come to our games, we might be their second favorite teams. The people who grew up here between 1995 and 2016 without a team, they found a team. You're not necessarily changing that. And the hard part about the NFL is we all play our games at the same time. So if you're a Jets or Giants fan, you're going to watch that game versus maybe coming to our game, right? It's not like other sports where, hey, I can be a Yankees fan and I'll watch that game on Thursday and I'll still go to a Dodgers game, right? It is a very different answer. So I always view you have to put the best team you can on the field. Now, where I do differ is we have always focused on, scoring points, being on offense, because in a city like this, entertainment sells, playing fantasy football, getting people engaged in a Cooper Kupp, a Puka Nacua, a Matthew Stafford, a Todd Gurley is hugely important to build the relevance. So I think if we do anything to talk about winning from a marketing perspective as being a more offensive-minded team, I think we have the most lopsided salary cap spend in history, offense to defense. That's not by plan, but it's kind of how it turns out. But I think winning in LA is a cover charge to being relevant. But you actually have to market very well and spend a lot of money and be engaged and do it every year along with the winning. Winning is not a substitute for marketing. Everybody here wins. Almost every team has a ring or a title. Kings, Lakers, Dodgers, LAFC, LA Galaxy, the Sparks, everybody's won. That is not just enough to say you win. You have to do it with your own style, your own substance, and your own fan base. And I think SoFi Stadium has given us a platform to do it differently, but I view winning as that's something we have to do just to be competitive as a football team. The marketing we have to do whether we win or lose.
I do care about winning. If you had asked me before we signed the deal how I thought about it, it would be different than after our first season and second season. I'm a passionate Rams and Chargers fan every Sunday because I want them to go to the playoffs and I want them to win. I know everyone personally, but I also want to have that home playoff game or maybe 2 home playoff games because it's more national television coverage, it's more notoriety, it helps build the reach and the brand awareness. But it's also a hell of a lot of fun. Like, if you'd asked me when we did the deal, how would it feel if one of the teams went to the Super Bowl? I'd be like, that's nice, we get a few more games. Like, it was incredibly rewarding. And so it allowed us to talk a lot more about the stadium and a lot more with our audiences. So it's really, the cherry on top, so to speak. But it's also just fun to be around winning and being part of that. And it gives you license to do a lot more things.
Yeah. To be clear, I love to win. And winning is important. It's not an important part of the marketing strategy. But when you get to be the first stadium to ever host a conference championship and a Super Bowl in the same time, winning's a lot of fun.
Well, and you noted, and we've all touched on this for a moment, we've got the World Cup coming to town, the Olympics coming to town, another Super Bowl coming to town, all one after another after another. Is there something that you would like to do in that building that you've not yet done and that is not yet calendared? You've had concerts, you had Taylor Swift, you've got the events that I just talked of. Is there a benchmark event that you've got in mind that you've not yet secured for the building?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, we talked about the intersection of entertainment and sports. Like, I remember texting Anthony the first time I saw the Taylor Swift movie. I'm like, this is basically free advertising, for SoFi because it was all built there. Look, I think you want to get more musical acts that change the game. When we designed this building, it was with the idea to host the Academy Awards, the Grammys. There's a reason a roof is on it. I would love to go get one of those iconic LA shows. I do think, trying to get basketball I'd love to do an outdoor hockey game. There are all kinds of events I would love to look at doing, but I think it also comes to, we've done WrestleMania, can we do UFC? I think we want every chance, but I also want to start to think about the events no one else has ever done, right? And starting to put together, whether it's a music festival, whether it's the intersection of sports and entertainment, what could we figure out that's never been done? Because otherwise, all these events rotate buildings and you're just checking boxes. To me, it's what can we use SoFi and Hollywood Park as a platform that's never been done.
And I'll take all of that and then throw on top of it. So Green Day is my favorite band, and they're coming in September. I'm very psyched about that. I love college football. We had the college football playoffs, which was awesome, although I wish Michigan played instead of TCU, given how many sweet requests we got when Michigan was in the playoffs, but didn't make the final game. And it was just unbelievable how quickly that demand fell off. The other thing is I played football at West Point. I'd love to see the iconic Army-Navy game played.
Oh, wow. That
we have talked about that in the future.
The Army-Air Force game would have been in the stadium if Air Force wasn't a bunch of wimps and didn't want to give up a home game and being fly boys and ladies.
Okay, now that's some good insight we just got.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I'd say is, the NCAA Final Four, Kevin alluded to basketball. I do think that's an iconic event. I would love for it to give underrepresented sports a platform. I think about the emergence of women's sports in the back of some iconic players and, how do we put the WNBA on a new platform? How do we put women's college basketball on a bigger platform? And so I'd love to see more in that direction as well. And there are other underrepresented sports as well, not just those two.
Yeah, I mean, we had talks this summer about trying to bring Angel City NWSL into SoFi to host the world's largest attended women's soccer game. It didn't work. This summer, I think there are all kinds of opportunities that we're just starting to scratch the surface of to really reimagine how it can be a vehicle for sport to drive, not only in Los Angeles, but across the globe, given the platform SoFi has.
We have less than 5 minutes to go, so I will say a couple of things right now and then turn it over to each of you to add anything you might wish to add. It was very clear from the moment you picked the location and built the building and paired with SoFi how forward-thinking you were and how magnificently you have accomplished each step. Listening to you right now, it is very clear that you are still far more forward-thinking than are most of the teams in the NFL, and I'm qualified to say that having spent 30 years in the NFL. I was going to suggest to you the Oscars and the Grammys, but clearly you've already thought of that, and you should get that done. Are there any things you would like to add in the final few minutes that we have here?
I'd say one of the things that probably doesn't get talked about enough is that, I alluded to it up front, was that you have to have resilience and persistence. And, a lot of things happen unexpectedly. And I'd say 90% of the time, whoever promised to deliver, when those things happen, it becomes a reason not to deliver what they were supposed to or what they committed to. And you can't hold them accountable for not doing it. In this particular case, every time something negative happened, Stan never changed his course. He never wavered from what he wanted to do, what he told us he would do, regardless of the cost. And then even went beyond that, which is, I'll never forget, I got a call from, the family and the team that I was working on and said, hey, we've agreed, and it's already in writing, you've signed it, to have SoFi fixed on the roof. We have another idea. We want to take SoFi off the roof, but you have to agree to do it, and make it a video screen. I said, well, how big will the video screen be? They told me. I said, as long as it still says SoFi when there's a video there, I'm fine with that. They're like, really? Why? I said, I think people will take a lot more pictures of the videos on the stadium than just our name. And our name, as long as it's with there, we'll get a lot more social impressions, et cetera. And I think that costs an extra $1 billion. Like, this is a man that was on a mission and a family that was on a mission, organization. And without that, it wouldn't have happened. And other people had grand visions and they never got a shovel in the ground. And other people have tried to build things of great stature and they've never achieved it. But in this particular case, Stan delivered on what he said and then even more. And that's made all the difference.
Look, and what's interesting, right, when you try to be forward-thinking, which we try to be with this building, whether it is the infinity screen or the LED on the roof, and Anthony and I were just talking before, with their new partnership with the NBA play-in tournament, we actually did a whole series of the play-in tournament games with SoFi on the roof video that the NBA put on their platform. And I say that because I think it's the power of what this partnership has done. Here's the NBA promoting their play-in tournament on the roof of a football stadium, right? Not one of their arenas, not somewhere else. Like this was the NBA reaching out to us, being like, "Can we do this?" And we do own an NBA team in Denver, so it is, somewhere in the partnership. But I think that is where SoFi Stadium and Hollywood Park have really changed the game and bringing all of these sports entities together. And you talked about Intuit Dome, which I do think, I look at as a great additive to what we're doing because, in the span of from when we first laid eyes on Hollywood Park, you had the Forum, which was just getting redone as a concert venue, but Inglewood was kind of, there were a few events there. We do about 40 to 50 live events in SoFi Stadium each year. We do another 60 to 70 at YouTube Theater. The Forum does about 50, and now Intuit Dome is going to do 50 to 60. Now you're talking about live sports and entertainment programming within the span of, a mile on Prairie for 200 nights a year, right? You have completely changed Inglewood, Los Angeles, the epicenter of how people attend events. And for anybody, this is, inside Los Angeles, trying to get east, at 4 or 5 o'clock to go downtown is really hard. Trying to get, to the west side, hopefully a little bit easier. But as you look at a 300-acre project, I hope 10 years from now, when we look at what Hollywood Park and SoFi Stadium have been, is not only transformative sports and entertainment, but to the Inglewood community, to the South LA community, to the number of jobs that have been impacted and the people who grew up there and live there, to the impact we've had on the school systems. That to me will be the lasting legacy of what we've done if we've done it right. And I think it's the next step. We're sitting here 8 years into the return to LA journey, now 4 years into the return, the building of SoFi Stadium. I can't wait to see what the next decade holds for this project because it will be transformative in going from being a game changer to still being the standard bearer for sports and entertainment districts, but also I truly believe we will be the epicenter of Los Angeles, by the time we have this conversation in 2030.
Well, I will close with this. Many, many people in business, as you both know, throw around the word partnership. We're partners. We have a partnership. And it is very rare to see one that is truly, truly a partnership, which yours obviously is. I think the 4 most important words in business are communicate, collaborate, cooperate, and coordinate. And it is absolutely clear that the Rams and SoFi, and I'm sure the Chargers, do that as well. You're communicative with one another, you coordinate with one another, you cooperate with one another, and you collaborate with one another. And in my view, that is why you have been able to achieve in and for Los Angeles that which no one has achieved to date until you did it. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.